Welcome to the yoga method. Our vinyasa practice today is a very modified primary series from Ashtanga yoga. So come and join us at the top of your mat. We'll turn sideways so it's a little bit easier for you to see what we're doing. So hands at Anjali Mudra, closing down the windows of your eyes. And in the Ashtanga tradition, we use Ujjayi breath, so breathing with sound. And we are focused on Mula Bandha, the lift of the pelvic floor, as well as a gentle drawing in through the navel center. The final piece of the Ashtanga tradition is to use dristi, so just a focal point, please. So eyes are closed, flooding the body with your breath, with your awareness, and charging your practice with the sound of Om. Take a deep breath in. Om. Please release your hands, opening your eyes, and we begin with Sun Salutation A. On your in-breath, let your hands reach and rise. Press your palms, look to your thumbs. On the exhalation, moving into a forward fold, bend your knees as much as you need, looking to your knees last. On the in-breath, we lift and lengthen hands to shins or fingertips to floor before stepping or hopping and lowering on knees or toes. You never have to do it on your toes. Take a baby cobra or an upward facing dog and either propel your hips to child's pose or downward facing dog. So wherever your body feels best, that is what we always want you to focus on. The shape is irrelevant. It's all about how it feels to your body. And we want every part of your yoga practice to feel like it's honoring you and to feel that it's being therapeutic to your body today. So connecting with the sound of the breath, the lift of the pelvic floor, the scooping of the lower belly, as you steady your eyes between your feet or between your knees. Let's take one more full breath in stillness. And on your inhalation, lift to the tips of the toes. Exhale, bend your knees so you can see where you're going. Look forward. Walk or hop if you feel ready. Lift, lengthen on the in-breath. Exhale, pull yourself into your forward fold. Strong foundation through the legs and the core as we reach and rise on the in-breath. Hands circle down and around to Samastitihi. Circle and sweep. Surya Namaskar A, second round. On the exhalation, we lead with the heart as we forward fold, looking to the knees. Pause. On the in-breath, shining the light of the heart forward before stepping or hopping, transitioning on knees or toes through Chaturanga Dandasana. Taking Urdhva Mukha Svanasana and exhaling to Child's Pose or Adho Mukha Svanasana. Now in a down dog, we check that our hands are shoulder distance, our feet are hip distance. And if I look at my hands, the crease of my wrist is parallel to the short edge of my mat, and my middle finger is parallel to the long edge of the mat. Fingers are spread, toes are spread, belly's lifting, eye gaze steady. Take one more breath in stillness. And on our next in-breath, tips the toes. On the exhalation, bend the knees to look where we're going. Walk or fly your way there. Lift, lengthen. Exhale, forward fold. Ground and feel your foundation before you reach and rise. Press palms, look to your thumbs. Hands home to heart center. Samastitihi. One more A. How tall can you grow on the in-breath? And on your exhalation, really feeling the spine cascading forward. On your in-breath, how long can you make your arms, your legs, your spines before stepping or hopping, transitioning slowly with control through Chaturanga. As we open into up dog, energize the back of the body before moving to Child's Pose or downward facing dog. Breathe in, spreading fingers, spreading toes. Breathe out one. On your in-breath, get longer somewhere. Breathe out two. Remember, you can bend your knees as much as you need. The length of your spine is more important than the length of your leg. Sometimes our hamstrings just won't allow us to be in the straight leg position. Let's take one more breath as Grant returns to his downward facing dog. And on your inhalation, lift the toes. Those would be your heels. Exhale, bend your knees, look to the top of the mat. Step or fly your way there. Lift, lengthen, pause. Exhale, let it all go. Rise and reach, finding maximal length from floor to ceiling before coming home to Samastitihi. So Surya Namaskar B, Sun Salutation B, we'll just go slow to begin with. So bending your knees through Utkatasana, palms press if your shoulders will allow. On the out breath, down the midline of the body, lift your hips, release your head last. Inhale, lift, lengthen. Exhale, stepping or hopping, transitioning through Chaturanga. Energize and open on the in-breath before lifting up and back on the out-breath. On your inhalation, lift to the tips of the toes, please, and then bend your knees on the out-breath to look forward. It is your right foot that's aiming for your right thumb. So I'm going to come into a Warrior One shape. Grant's going to take a lunge in Anjani Asana, because Warrior One can feel a little bit sticky. So both of us will have a parallel knee to hip and knee over ankle, and then choosing whether the hands stay on the hips, whether they reach high, or our palms could press and we could look at our thumbs. So front leg will look identical, back leg a little bit different, with my outer edge planted, but we're both endeavoring to square the pelvis and level the pelvis as we take one more full deep breath in. And on the exhalation, we'll both frame our foot, slide to high plank on in-breath, and lower through Chaturanga on the out-breath. Energize, really broaden the collarbones, lift your chin, and then up and back, down dog. So on the in-breath, just float your heels. On the exhalation, bend the knees, look at your left thumb. You're ready, step towards it, because we want our feet hip distance on this posture. So Virabhadrasana 1, or Anjani Asana lunge. Feet are hip distance apart. We're squaring the hips through the action of the feet. And we're both trying to feel Mula Bandha, so pelvic floor and lower belly. Pressing fiercely into the outer edge of the back leg if you're in Warrior One. And then readjusting through the hands, through the neck, as you tune into your own body. For this last deep breath in, and on the exhalation, lifting back heel, frame foot, slide to high plank as you breathe in, shift forward, lower, eyes forward, belly strong. Energize the back body, open the front body before lifting up and back to child's pose or downward facing dog. Breathing in, breathe out 1. Full deep breath in. Breathe out 2. Full breath in. Breathe out 3. If you're in child's pose, come and join me. Breathe in. Breathe out 4. On your inhalation, lift to the tips of the toes, leave the legs straight. On the exhalation, bend your knees, look to the top of your mat. Step or fly, lift, lengthen, breath in, exhale, let it all go. Utkatasana, bend your knees, take a seat, hands reaching on the in-breath, standing tall, standing proud to Samastitihi. We'll do one more B, but traditionally one movement, one breath. So here we go, inhale up. On the exhalation, down that midline, hips high, head low. Inhale, find lightness in the head and the heart. Look forward before stepping or hopping, transitioning through Chaturanga. Squeeze the heel to the midline, really energize the legs. Lifting up and back, down dog. On the in-breath, lift to the tips of the toes. On the exhalation, bend the knees, look to your hands, right thumb. Pivot the back foot or stay with the lunge. One breath up before the exhalation takes us to the floor. Inhale, high plank. Exhale, lower Chaturanga. Energize, open. Release up and back, down dog. Legs stay straight as we lift to the tips of the toes. On the exhalation, bend the knees, look at your left thumb. Step through, pivot, or leave the heel lifted as we rise on the in-breath with the arms. The exhalation, frame the foot, step back, lower, with energized body, finding the buoyancy in the in-breath before lifting up and back, child's pose or downward facing dog. Breathing in, breathe out 1. So really exaggerating length through the arms, through the legs, through the spine. Breathe out 2. On the in-breath, we're seeking lightness, but on that exhalation, find your strength. Draw to the central channel. This is it. Lifting on the tips of the toes on your in-breath, please. On the out-breath, bend your knees, look forward, walk or fly, lift, lengthen. Exhale, bow. Bend your knees, chair pose, Utkatasana, take that seat. Standing tall on the out-breath to Samastitihi. Feet come hip distance apart. I'll turn towards you for a moment. Hands to your hips as you take a breath in to a baby back bend shape. Variation 2, hands to our knees. Variation 3, shins or peace fingers gripping big toes, please. We take one breath in to lift our heads, lift our hearts, look forward. And on the exhalation, gently pull yourselves in. So once again, spine focus is primary. So if it feels better to bend your knees more to release the tension in your lower back, please, please do. In the shape, if you're feeling safe, you're dynamically using the strength of your arms and your core to pull you in. And there's a tiny shift into the balls of the feet if you feel safe. Take one more full, deep, expansive breath in and out. On the inhalation, lifting heads, lifting hearts, pause as you look forward, either holding the back of your calves or sliding the hands underneath the soles of your feet. Once again, lift heads, lift hearts, breathe in to establish your posture. And on the out-breath, we then gently retrace our steps and move into that forward fold. Your pranayama is your focus, that ujjayi breath. Just breathe with a little bit of sound. And then we want to really engage through the pelvic floor, through the lower belly. And the dristi is between the knees or to your navel as you shift the weight slightly forward. Take 2 more breaths. One more full breath as you energize the quadriceps and release. On the in-breath, we lift the heads, lift the hearts. We pause, slide the hands to your knees or your waist, whatever feels safest, and then bend your knees to safely rise all the way to standing. Stepping back to the top of the mat, feet together or hip distance apart. So bend your knees. You're stepping with your right leg to face us, or you might have your mat the other direction. And we're coming into our first standing posture, Trikonasana. So energizing the legs. If I had a piece of chalk, your heel would line up with the arch of the foot or the heel. In your own time, you're going to reach, and you'll feel that there's an end point. And when you find your end point, just land your hand on your thigh, your shin, your foot, or in Ashtanga, they take peace fingers to the big toe, whatever feels best for your body. Please find the connection to your foundation, your feet. Energize your feet, energize your legs. Make sure there's a micro bend in your right knee. And then lightness in the body as you spiral to look skywards to your thumb. Take 3 more breaths. Long legs, strong belly, steady eyes. On your next inhalation, get a little bit longer through your arm space. On the out-breath, look down, bend deeply into your right knee, and then rise on your in-breath to come to second side. So just take your time, reorganize the body. When you feel you're ready, you're reaching until you feel your end point, and then lightly land the hands where it feels most therapeutic to your body. So the foundation strong through the feet, through the legs, through the core, as we spiral to perhaps look to that top thumb. If your shoulder's not happy, bring the hand to the head or the hip, doesn't matter. But wherever you are, 2 breaths remaining. One more deep heart opening breath in. And on your exhalation, looking to your big toe, bend deeply into your left knee, rising all the way to standing, facing forward. We pivot all the way towards the back, and we want to shorten our stance and widen our stance, and grabbing a block is so beneficial. Your right hand is to your right hip. Your left hand takes your block high if you have it. And then that same idea of finding your length first, and then landing your hand on your thigh, your shin, your foot, or the block. You could bring that hand to the pinky toe of your side. But before we do anything else, draw your right hip back, left hip forward, and begin to spiral towards that thigh. Only if your shoulder will allow, you'll take your right hand high. And only if your neck and your balance will allow, you'll begin to look towards that top thumb. Steady your eyes, find your breath, feel the bandhas. Last 2. One more full deep breath in. And on your out breath, please look down, bend deeply into your right knee. Take your block with you. Your best windmill arms all the way around to face the other end. So left leg is forward. Right foot slightly turned out, shorter stance, wider stance. Inhale high. On the out breath, find your maximal length before you land your hand on your thigh, your shin, your foot, your block, or pinky toe side. Finding levelness through your pelvis to the best of your ability. Draw your left hip back, right hip forward as you spiral your chest towards the thigh. And sending left hand high, only if it feels good. And taking eye gaze to your top thumb. If the balance is there, if the breath remains deep. Last 2 breaths. One more full deep breath in. And on your exhalation, looking down, bend deeply into your left knee, rising to face the long edge of your mat before stepping back to the top of the mat into Samastitihi. Deja vu, we bend the knees again. We step with the right foot to face the long edge of the mat. Pivoting again, left toes in, right toes out. But a longer stance now as we come into side angle. So let's start in a warrior 2 shape first. Please check your hip and knees in one line. Your knee is right above your ankle, and you can see your big toe on the inside of this foot. And then from there, we extend. Once again, you'll feel your end point. You could use your elbow on your thigh. You could take your ankle. If your block is close enough, you could also use that, or hand to the earth. With your left arm, it could reach to ceiling, or if the shoulder mobility will allow, we can take that arm all the way overhead. So one strong, beautiful straight line from the tips of the fingers all the way down to the outer edge of your left foot. Eye gaze to the floor, to the front, or to the palm of that hand. Let's just take one more breath in. And on the out breath, looking down, ready, pushing out of that foot, rising to the long edge of the mat before we set up on second side. So aligning that hip and knee as we move into a warrior 2 shape. Make sure you feel really good with your foundation. And then extending your reach until you feel your end point. Land your elbow, take your ankle, use your block, or hand to the earth. Top arm could reach for ceiling, or spin the pinky finger down as we reach that arm overhead. So the bottom hip tucking under, the top ribs rolling open, eye gaze to the floor, to the front, or the palm of the hand, as you take these last 2 breaths. One more breath in. And on the out breath, looking down, please press fiercely into your left foot, rising to the long edge of the mat. And we're going to pivot all the way towards this end once more. And we'll set up just a little bit differently by coming into a kneeling position, please. So right foot forward, left leg behind you, left hand high as we take a breath in. And then please cross your left elbow over to your right thigh. Bring your palms together, stack your elbows. Press down with your left elbow to lift the torso and to revolve the heart. Variation 1, we stay here. Variation 2, your back toe's already tucked, so you might decide you want to explore lifting the back knee or not. And then the final option is to wiggle, wiggle, wiggle your left arm towards the floor or your block. Your right arm could reach to ceiling or over top once again. Eye gaze to the floor, to the side, or the palm of that hand as we stay and breathe for 2. One more full deep breath in before spotting your landing, retracing your steps, and rising to the middle of the mat. Caught that one before we pivot all the way to the other side. So just a way to set up so we've got nice alignment. Hip and knee check. Take a breath all the way to ceiling with right hand. And then please come across the line of the body. Elbow pressing into that left thigh. Your palms are pressing into each other. And we're stacking the elbows one upon the other. Finding that connection to pelvic floor and your back toes. And deciding whether lifting into this posture enhances what you're feeling. And final option, we wiggle the right hand towards the pinky toe. We send the left arm high and then overhead. Eye gaze to the floor, to the side, or the palm of that hand. Last 3 breaths. Last 2, can you make your back leg a little straighter, a little stronger? One more full deep breath in before spotting your landing and rising to face the long edge of your mat before stepping back to the top of the mat to Samastiti. Last standing part, we're going to step wide again towards the long edge of the mat. You want to be really super generous with your stance here, and your toes are slightly pigeon-toed or the edges parallel to the edge of the mat. Catch your hips for a moment. Make sure your hips feel nice and square and level. Take a breath in to open the front of the heart. And on the exhalation, variation 1, hands to your knees. Variation 2, we could reach for the floor but keep the knees really bent. And option 3, block, always there to support you as you find the edge to your posture. So I'd like for you to check that the heels of the hands are lining up with the heels of the feet. The heels of the hands line up with the heels of the feet. And you're spreading your fingers wide as if you're going to pop up into a headstand. Your elbows are squeezing an imaginary beach ball between them, so make them really energetic. And then that shift forward into the balls of the feet to enhance the engagement of the core. Engage your legs as much as you can, pressing into the pinky toe side, taking one more full deep breath in and out. On the in-breath, we lift heads, we lift hearts, and we pause. On the out-breath, hands to your waist. Inhaling to rise all the way up to standing. And exhaling to stay. We'll just do one more of these. On your in-breath, take your hands wide, peace fingers ready. On the exhalation, bend your knees as much as you need. Again, hands to knees. Or peace fingers to your big toe, block is ready. On the in-breath, we first lift the heads and hearts to establish the length of the spine. And then maintaining the length of the spine, we pour ourselves in. So use the strength of your arms to draw you just a little bit deeper. Firm the legs, lift the pelvic floor, and shift the weight to the balls of the feet slightly, just slightly. Finding connection to your breath as you stay for these last 2. One more full deep breath in and out. On the in-breath, We lift the heads, we lift the hearts, we pause on the out-breath, knees or waist with the hands before rising all the way to standing, please. Turn your left toes out, ready to step to the top of your mat. Hands to heart center, Samastitihi. Saying goodbye to our standing sequence. Let's come to the floor with a vinyasa, so hands reach and rise. It'll look just like a sun salutation. Exhale, bend your knees as much as you need. On your in-breath, lift, lengthen, look forward before stepping or hopping, transitioning through your chaturanga. Energize and open. Wipe your slate clean as you lift your hips up and back. On the in-breath, tips the toes. On the out-breath, bend the knees. Listen. You're going to come to a seated position, so you might just bend your knees, take a seat, crisscross your ankles, take a seat. It doesn't matter. However we get there, perfect. I'm going to face you. Grant's going to stay side on as we come to Dandasana. I might scooch back a little bit. When you're ready, hands on either side of your hips, grounding into the hands, lifting through the chin, energizing your legs. And then on the exhalation, maintain everything except the spine moves into flexion rather than extension through your neck. Please draw your feet back. Feel your quadriceps engage. Press with your hands. Lift through pelvic floor, lower belly. One more breath in. And out. A celebratory breath as the hands rise. Peace fingers ready. Bend your knees as much as you need. Pistol grip your big toes. Inhale, lift heads, hearts. Exhale into your forward fold. Dristies the toes. The sound of the breath steadies you internally. And you keep working with the strength of pelvic floor and lower belly. Last two. One more full deep breath in. And out. On the in-breath, lift your heads, lift your hearts. On your exhalation, gently release. Right foot crossing above the left knee. Variation 1, Grant's going to stay there. Variation 2, point your toes, bring that heel to your belly button, tuck it into the crease of the hip. We'll all take our right hand wide, flip the thumb, curve of the back, or peace fingers to your big toe. Send your left hand high. And on the exhalation, gently ease your way in any amount. So there shouldn't be any pressure in your knee. And to the best of our ability, we're squaring our hips and our shoulders as we gaze at our big toes. Last two breaths. One more, please. On the in-breath, lift your heads, your hearts. On the exhalation, simply release and come to the other side. So setting up with that figure 4 shape, dorsiflexion, or point the toe, heel to the belly, toes in the crease of the hip. We all take left hand, flip the thumb, curve of the back, or peace fingers to the big toe. Right hand high on the in-breath. Exhale as far as it feels good. Bend this knee as much as you need. Twisties the big toe. Square the hips, square the shoulders. Breathe into what you're feeling. 2 more. 1 more, please. On your inhalation, lifting heads, hearts, before gently releasing. Jana Shashasana. A, tucking in with the right foot above or below the knee. Energize the left foot. Send your hands high on your in-breath. Ease your way forward, hands on thigh, shin, or taking a gentle bind around the sole of the foot. Roll your right ribs towards your left inner thigh. Steady your eyes, steady your body, steady your breath. 2 more. 1 more, please. On your inhalation, heads and hearts. On the out-breath, we release and come to second side. So choosing the angle that feels best. Energize the right foot. Take the breath high as you breathe in. Maintain the length of the spine as you breathe out. Steady your eyes. Listen for the sound of your own breath. Left ribs rolling towards the right inner thigh. Last 2. One more. On your in-breath, lifting heads and hearts before gently releasing out of that shape. Boat pose, please. So bending your knees. Variation 1 in boat pose is staying here. Variation 2, we reach the hands forward. Toes could get light. Variation 3, shins parallel. And variation 4, lengthening through the legs. Stay and breathe for 3. For 2. One more breath in. Listen, right over left, hands just in front of the hips. Press your feet down, lift your bum up, and release. Boat pose again. Breathe in. Shoulders relaxed, heart is really buoyant. Last 2. One more, please. Left over right, knees to chest, hands down, feet down, lift your bum up. Release, last one. Navasana. Shoulders away, heart buoyant, belly strong. Maybe in these last 2 breaths, we lift the legs, breathe in. One more, please. Before gently releasing the feet to the floor, and please roll all the way down onto your backs. Ooh. Hugging your knees to your chest once you've arrived there safely, just to deload your spine. And then we're straight into our back bend. So Grant's going to use a block underneath his pelvis for just a restorative option for our bridge pose. And variation 2, coming into an active bridge. So we set up bridge by lifting our heads for a moment, checking that the hips and knees are aligned. And Grant's just placing the block right underneath his sacrum. So same energy, we press into the 4 corners of the feet. Pelvic floor is engaged as we breathe in. And then in this shape, we're finding the 4 corners of the feet, lifting through the pelvis, but the hands are also offering support. Press dynamically into your shoulders so that the head is free and the throat stays open. And then finally, envision that you're kicking your feet forward. The knees will not go anywhere, but instead the energy will send the pelvis just a tiny bit higher. So feel the 4 corners of your feet. Feel your hamstrings, your glutes, your core. Your eyes are steady on the ceiling as you take one more full deep breath in before gently peeling your way down, one vertebra at a time. Upper back, middle back, lower back, tailbone. If you're on a block, you'll lift the pelvis and you'll gently remove the block. Please gather your knees to your hearts again. And I'm just going to spin around so I'm the same direction for this as Grant. So as we move from extension, we take a moment in flexion here. And now we're moving into flexion through inversions. So you are welcome to take happy baby pose for 15 breaths. This is a really beautiful, gentle way of doing an inversion. And that way there's absolutely no stress and strain on your neck. Variation 2, we can move into a candlestick. So a candlestick just looks like this to begin with when you're a beginner. So you're just stacking ankles over knees. And then variation 2, you'll press with your fingertips. You'll walk your elbows in. And this might be your candlestick to begin with. If it feels okay, we lengthen through the legs. And we can walk the elbows in a little bit tighter perhaps. So the fingers are running up along either side of the spine. And my feet are over my pelvis, not over my face, because I don't want to dump that load into my neck. So I'm still able to really move my neck freely by dynamically pressing down with my elbows and shoulders. Just take 2 more breaths here. One more breath. And then we're moving into plow pose, halasana. So as the feet transition overhead, if you feel any discomfort in your neck, come out of this immediately and come into your happy baby pose. So if you are suspended with your feet off the floor, leave your hands on your back for support. If your feet find the floor, you're then welcome to bring your hands to the earth or even interlace your fingers if that feels accessible. Please point your toes. Energize your legs just as much as you did in every other posture. And we're still steady with our eyes connected to the pelvic floor, Mula Bandha, and lower belly, Uddiyana Bandha. And in this position, we're definitely feeling Jalanara Bandha as well, the throat lock. Take 2 more breaths. One more, please. And then in this shape, our final is Kanapadasana, knee to forehead or knee to ear pose. If you're feeling like you're rolling out of this, you use the hands to support you. The big toes are together. The knees are energetically squeezing. And once again, we can interlace the fingers if that feels available. If you're in happy baby pose, you are welcome to take a little bit of movement here instead, right? It just feels really lovely to move from static to active as we stay for these last 2 breaths. To safely come out of your Kanapadasana, I want you to lengthen your legs again like you're in plow pose. And then bring your hands to the floor and use your core. Skim your legs as closely as you can to your face so that you're landing really softly through the pelvis. Once you feel like there's any strain in your back, you're going to bend your knees immediately and ground through your feet. So from flexion to extension, we use fish pose for our extension. So your hands are going to take this shape underneath your bum, okay? So pop your hands underneath you. Your fingers are spread, your thumbs are touching, and your hands are on the underneath the fleshy part of your pelvis. Take both legs long, point your toes, glue your big toes together, tuck your elbows in, and really energize the entire body. From here, this is option 1, body energized. Variation 2, lift the head to engage the core just a little extra. Variation 3, keep staring at your big toes, but float your heart into extension, back bend. And then only if your neck allows, the head releases. And only if the core will allow, so there's no strain in the lower back, the feet could lift on a 45. Last 3 breaths. For 2. One more full, deep, glorious breath in before gently releasing your feet, releasing your head, releasing your efforts, and coming into stillness, please. Just feeling the warmth of the body, the energy within the body, and just a little bit more openness and spaciousness than when we began. The drishti is now on the back of your forehead or between your eyebrows with your eyes closed. The sound of the breath now disappears, and we see how quiet and smooth we can make the breath. And we release finally the effort through the bandhas, through pelvic floor, through the lower belly. Steady eyes on the back of the forehead. Smooth, slow, quiet, deep breath. Letting go of all effort in this moment as you celebrate your effort and practice gratitude for this body. We invite you to stay in Shavasana for as long as your day will allow. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for sharing your time, your energy, your effort with us. Namaste.